Hello, hello, hello. Whether you're watching this live or you're watching the recording, welcome to Heart and Mind. I'm Dr. Dina McMillan, and boy, are things getting interesting out there. We're going to talk about that today in this episode 31. Why are people woke? Oh my goodness. I can't think of anything that's more important right now. Because whether you know it or not, woke have been running things for a long time. We're all related to woke people. We all work with woke people. Stay on board. We have got to see what's going on here. Now, please join me every Tuesday night and tell your friends, tell your family members, inform the newly awakened. Because unlike many shows, we don't just talk about what's going on. We talk about why it's happening and what it means, what those in power are trying to do to you. I'm a social psychologist, and that's why we talk about it. Now, we're on at 8 p.m. on the East Coast, 7 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and 5 p.m. on the Pacific Coast. And also, for those of you, I have a friend, Melinda Richards, who often joins me. She's going to join me today. She joins me from Queensland in Australia, where it is 10 o'clock in the morning. It's 11 a.m. in Sydney and Melbourne. It's about 1 o'clock in the morning in the UK, but I have a few insomniac British friends who also join us. So, the fact that I'm a social psychologist, if you've not seen this before, that is really important. I'm the only one bringing these methods of learning, influence, persuasion, manipulation, coercion, indoctrination, and brainwashing you and showing you the strings. I'm showing you how it's done. We're looking at what's happening and what it means, who's pushing the button, whose hand is directing what's going on around us. And it's also the reason that, unlike many people, I sometimes show videos, but you'll notice I always have slides. And the reason I have slides is this. Oh, excuse me. The reason I have slides is this. If you see a relevant image, and we're talking about some information, science has shown us you're more likely to actually remember the information, even if you're not really paying attention to the image. So having these images when we discuss different topics means you're more likely to actually embed that information in the parts of the brain that you need to be able to remember the information. And this information is critically important. Now, speaking of critically important information, you can support Daily Clout and you can become more awakened and more informed by getting the Pfizer papers. It's available on Amazon. You can find the latest analysis of the Pfizer clinical trial documents. Those documents they wanted to keep secret for 75 years. Naomi Wolf, Amy Kelly, and others spent several years going through this information and making it accessible so that you can see what was really going on and continues to go on. So go on Amazon and get your own copy of the Pfizer papers. Now today, going through this, my friend Melinda, I have to give Melinda Richards her props. She's the one that came up with this. We were talking, she's like, why are people woke? And I realized we are related to these people. I've mentioned, if you've watched this show before, I have relatives who will not speak to me because I am not woke. I haven't been woke since I became a social psychologist. So I'm used to the rejection, although I won't lie, it still hurts. We also work with woke people. In my field, being a social psychologist working with the community, 90% of the people I work with are either woke or pretending to be woke. I have lost so much work. I've lost hundreds of thousands of dollars in contracts because I'm not woke and won't pretend I am. I knew that I could either choose to be an effective social scientist or I could be woke. I couldn't be both. And they've gotten angry and rejected me. And all of us have gone through it. All of us know people, work with people, are related to people who've been captured by woke ideology. They've had a stranglehold on our culture for more than 20 years. We're looking now at who are these people? Why are they like that? What can we do about it? So I'm hoping you'll stick with this. We're going to talk about this today. Anything we don't get to today, we're going to cover next week. We may even have to do a 4th episode. This is so important. And if you're watching this on live stream, on X, Daily Cloud, Rumble, please sign in and give me your questions and comments. You can get them answered in real time. Stick with me, people. This is going to be a real ride today. Trump is fully in the process of draining the swamp. But the uncertainty for many is, will he expose the entire pandemic? There's enough public evidence for people to be concerned because millions were injected as part of this experiment. If you were forced to get the shot to work, travel, or maybe you just trusted the system back then, check out this natural solution formulated by Dr. Peter McCullough in collaboration with the Wellness Company. And they just leveled up their original detox formula for $30 less. Introducing the 3-in-1 Ultimate Spike Detox, conveniently consolidated into one capsule with 4 times more nattokinase, 500 milligrams of bromelain, and 500 milligrams of turmeric root extract. Nattokinase, an enzyme researched for its anti-clotting effects, may work to break down spike proteins. Combined with bromelain and curcumin, it provides a potent blend for detoxification and cellular support. It's crafted with 100% natural ingredients. Ultimate Spike Detox is backed by research offering effective support for your cell's natural repair and recovery. Experience the only formula approved and used by Dr. Peter McCullough, a top freedom-fighting doctor who risked it all. Head to dailycloudhealth.com and use the code DailyCloud to get 10% off plus free shipping. Again, that's dailycloudhealth.com and use the code DailyCloud to get 10% off. Get back to that pre-COVID feeling. Now, before we move on, I should tell you, I have recommended the Spike Detox to everyone I know. Why do I say I recommend it? Because I have not needed it. Touch wood. I am neither vaccinated nor have I had COVID. If you had either, it's a great product. Now, getting back to the wokeism, there is nothing more important for you to know and understand, because this is not just a cultural difference. This is a cultural war. As all of you have recognized, watching as once again the left is getting violent, turning against Elon Musk, sabotaging Teslas, sabotaging and burning Tesla dealerships. It is getting so ugly, but please, let's not pretend this is the only time this happened. Look at what happened with Black Lives Matter, where the leadership, the Democrat leadership, the celebrities were all applauding and advocating for violent action against the system, against Trump, against conservatives, against anybody white, against anything that makes our system thrive. They were not only getting advocated to be violent and hostile, they were being bailed out if they went to jail. And that includes Kamala Harris and her team. This is war. And no, I don't want it to be a war. I like to do things reasonably. But while I'm not advocating violence in return, We must protect ourselves. And one of the ways of protecting ourselves is first figure out what we're up against. That's why you're here. And keep in mind, wokeism didn't begin only when you noticed it. And no, I'm not just pointing at you, I'm pointing at me too. Until I became a social psychologist, all the way up through high school and undergrad, I was a Democrat. It wasn't until I actually went to started studying social psychology, looking at how people are influenced, looking at the flow out and flow on effects of what goes on in society, that I smartened up and said, oh my God, what are these people doing? So it's not anything to be embarrassed about. I mean, some of the most prominent people in Trump's team are former Democrats, including Trump himself. We are the party that says we are here to learn and grow. So it's just something to notice, not necessarily something to feel bad about, because wokeism as a cultural phenomenon actually started in the 1960s and 70s. Yeah, that far back. I want you to think back. How old were you? And you can tell me, how old were you when you realized that the Democrats, the left, the woke, were not putting something together that was actually going to help our society thrive? Now, it could be today, okay? But tell me how old you were. It's mid-March already. Spring is in the air. One thing that hasn't changed with the seasons is my focus on my well-being. And we all know one of the foundations of well-being is a good night's sleep. If I could do just one thing to improve my sleep and overall well-being, it's taking the number one mineral for that. And it also helps me with focus, stress levels, and mood regulation during the day. Yes, I'm talking about magnesium. Specifically, I'm talking about the magnesium breakthrough by Bioptimizers. The 7 different forms of magnesium in this supplement are involved in over 600 different biochemical reactions in the body. Pretty much every function in your body gets upgraded when you take magnesium, from the quality of your sleep to your brain function, from metabolism to stress levels. As things continue to change at high speed, you have to keep up. Can you do that without a good night's sleep and something to moderate your mood? Do yourself a favor and make magnesium breakthrough part of your daily routine this year so you can get the vitality you need to meet life's challenges. Go to bioptimizers.com/dailyclout now and enter the promo code dailyclout to get 10% off any order. And if you subscribe, not only will you get amazing discounts and free gifts, we all love free gifts, you'll make sure your monthly supply is guaranteed. Again, that's bioptimizers.com/dailyclout using the promo code dailyclout. Well. So how old were you? When did you awaken? Here's Satori. What's actually meant by woke people? It seems to me most people are deeply asleep, unable to do their own research, believing everything they hear. Well, Sator, you might want to look at last week where we spent a good deal of time explaining exactly what we mean by woke, but it might be a good idea to review it. It means left progressive. It means you watch things like CNN and MSNBC and you believe everything they tell you. It means you watch a lot of the shows in Hollywood and you don't even notice when they're preaching to you about social norms and cultural norms where they make anyone who's conservative, anyone who's Christian, the white people are always the bad guys. The illegal immigrants are always just looking for a better life. Woke people the term woke actually came from the Black urban community because, Black people always come up with really cool terms that everybody else picks up. And it means somebody who's aware. So woke people were like aware of the systemic causes for a lot of the problems in our society. That's fine, except they were attributing the problems to the wrong causes. But most people trusted, these people were confident, they were celebrities, they were well paid. We now know, thanks to the Department of Government Efficiency, they were also being heavily endorsed. These people were being paid. So it made it look like these people are successful. They must know what they're talking about. No, they're actually being bribed to actually condone, advocate these beliefs. But it works. And a lot of people still, I run into people all the time who believe anything that's on the news, they believe whatever they're told. Most people are sheep, and it's time for us to wake up because we can't afford to be that way anymore. The woke are destroying our society. They have been since the beginning, but the more power they get, the more overt the destruction. And now we have to choose a team. Are you going to be, I know it's a lot easier to be plugged into the matrix because all the celebrities are on your side. All the people having, the musicians having concerts welcome you with open arms. And they tell you, if you're a conservative or a Christian or somebody who voted for Trump, we don't want you here. So you got to handle self-reliance and feeling a bit rejected. I'd rather be rejected and be on the side of right. I'm sorry. I have never been willing to sell my soul to the devil, and it has cost me. Now, hopefully with this new era, it will not cost me anymore because a lot of people are going to need to know not only what are these people trying to do to us, which is what I'm explaining here, but also I have a program called Healing the Rift, where I actually teach people how to get rid of bias and how to work on teams with people with very different beliefs. And that includes woke, not woke, and just don't care. Okay. How do you make a team out of people like that? I can show you how. Now, by 2005, some of you weren't even born yet, or were just born then. By 2005, woke had completely infiltrated mainstream culture. You never saw somebody on a television show, a main character on a television show that wasn't woke. By 2015, when Trump came down that escalator, woke stopped pretending. A lot of shows that before were actually having the characters be consistent. These are logical, rational, science-based people. So they would say things that weren't woke. By 2015, that didn't happen anymore. Woke took over and they started punishing anybody who went against the narrative or even asked questions. Now, again, this is not finished today. I want you to keep talking. I want you to keep asking, Roscoe, where are you? Roscoe always has the cute little comments. We're going to talk about this in the next session, how woke is like the book 1984, how it's Orwell made real, how it manipulates through language, because of course, language is how we process information in the neocortex part of the brain. So we're not going to just talk about how it manipulates through language. I'm going to talk about how it manipulates and uses language and imagery to embed this information in your head. And of course, as always, we're going to talk about how you can protect yourself. Now, I'll get to your comments in just a second. I know you've heard me rave about how much this product has helped me. What about you? Are you ready to move easily and independently without pain or stiffness holding you back? Do you want to look in the mirror and see a plump, hydrated glow instead of more fine lines and wrinkles? Discover Native Path Collagen, made with only type 1 and type 3 collagen fibers, the two most important types that make up 90% of the collagen in your body. It's found in your cartilage, bones, skin, hair, nails, and gut. Types 1 and 3 provide maximum benefits without the need for unnecessary fillers. Native Path Collagen is a single ingredient formula with no fillers, additives, or artificial sweeteners. Plus, it's third-party tested for heavy metals, ensuring purity and safety. It's completely flavorless. Native Path collagen can be added to anything: coffee, smoothies, oatmeal, you name it. Its peptide formula makes it more bioavailable, meaning it's absorbed more easily and mixes perfectly and without clumping. And the best part? Native Path offers amazing bundle deals. You can get 3 or 6 packs at a fraction of the price of other brands. With over 4 million jars sold, 1 million happy customers, including me, 8,000 5-star reviews, and a 365-day no-risk guarantee, Native Path is a trusted choice. Plus, they offer an 800 number for any questions about usage, recipes, or ingredients. And you'll speak to a real person ready to help. If you join their private Facebook community, you get to share success stories, recipes, and support each other through this journey called life. Visit getnativepath.com/Daily Cloud and start your transformation today. That is getnativepath.com/DAILYCLOUT. Now, we have people waking up today. So let's look at a few comments. And then my friend Melinda Richards is here. She's going to join me. There's Roscoe. Hey, Roscoe. How late am I, doctor? You're here, Roscoe, so it's all good. He says, I know that Lindsay guy, James Lindsay, anti-woke guy, but he always tries to bring religion into and other loosely related philosophy into it. It doesn't approach business and universities enough. Yeah, I don't tend to follow him because I do find that he tends to get off topic. But speaking of topics, since I have to have Melinda join, first of all, because she's a successful author, influencer. She's on X. She has a former talk show host, a television talk show host, and she always brings interesting insights into the show. And especially since this whole show was her idea. So, Melinda.
Hello, Dina. Hi. How are you? It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh my God. The woke are just exploding. And someone asked earlier, what is woke? Here's what woke promotes: LGBT, liberal feminism, which is the pro-porn, pro-prostitution, pro-promiscuity feminism, not the we should value women to the same extent as men in society kind of feminism, which is earlier forms of feminism. They support Black Lives Matter, which is the movement to blame everything on the police, to destroy the Black family. They even put on their website that they were and had interviews saying that they were Marxist trained. And their site talked about that they were against the nuclear family. They didn't talk about the struggles of Black women. Instead, they focused on Black trans identified males. Yeah. Stole $90 million, used it to buy mansions. The rest of it was given to the Democrats. They were interesting. DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Equity is a Marxist thought. It's not equality. It's giving somebody something because they belong to a trendy group. It's otherwise called didn't earn it. Okay, they support Islam. They have turned abortion into something, a tough choice that some women make with an unwanted pregnancy, into an issue that means that all of women's rights is boiled down into abortion. You had an free abortion ban at the Democratic National Conference. You have women getting lots of attention online wearing T-shirts that say, I've had 20-something abortions.
Yeah, it's
Um,
terrible. That's terrible. That
the
that that
promise
I've seen
me,
those t-shirts. That's yeah.
they are, yeah, that's what woke is about. They are about basically, it's about anything that goes against traditional society. This is what they oppose: traditional values, merit based employment and promotion, heterosexuality, Christianity, white people, freedom of expression, and personal accountability. They don't like this stuff at all. So, yeah, they're a little bit. Let's. Oh, Roscoe Singh said hi, Melinda. Uh,
Hi.
he,
Good
he
to
has a really interesting comment here. They made abortion go from safe, legal, rare to shout your abortion. And I want to tell you something. I've met young women talking about this issue. And I asked them, because I've mentioned before, I had beliefs based on having lefty teachers since I was in elementary school. Um, and I've actually stopped and said, well, wait a minute, was I right about that? When I asked these young women that, they got that feral look in their eyes, that cluster B hysteria, and they just started getting really rabid about all of women's rights boiled down. So they'll give away all of women's rights because what there also are pro-transgender. So they are pro allowing men with people with either delusions or sexual fetishes to completely obliterate women's rights, as long as straight women are still allowed to have abortions. Does this make
yeah,
any sense?
you know, the really interesting thing with that list, which was a brilliant list, and it's a great topic, Dina. But the one group of people that has really gone backwards now in the last 20 years and has really suffered as a group in society, and is sort of doesn't have the place in society that they used to have, certainly in my lifetime, is actually women. Women have been the real losers of the woke agenda.
Well, because we sold ourselves out. You know, the thing is, we have been convinced that the early feminist movement convinced women that a traditional role was all loss. That's not true. And to me, nothing abhors me more than feminine men. Oh my God. I live in a neighborhood with no testosterone at all. We're talking about even the gay guys have more testosterone than the straight guys. I mean, it is just, they're so mealy mouthed and
Yeah.
apologetic and weak. But this is what they see represented in the media. This is what they see getting rewarded in their workplace.
Yeah.
So we
And,
are all
and
in this.
look, men have definitely suffered as well in terms of we're losing our really beautiful core masculinity in our society, because of course we put words together like toxic masculinity. Masculinity is nothing toxic. There's nothing toxic about masculinity. There's nothing terrible about masculinity. We need the masculine and the feminine, and we need these to be really, really strong on both sides of the fence. And so it's absolutely tragic that we're wiping out these really deep-seated feminine qualities and deep-seated masculine qualities, because they contribute so much to a well-functioning society.
Absolutely. And Roscoe asked if trans is a ploy against gay rights, and I say no. I warned the gay community when they started using the rainbow. You know, I was working in the LGBT community. They start using the rainbow and the love is love and all that stuff. And I said, these are manipulation tools. You're going to pay for that, because if you use manipulation to get someone on side, your relationship with them is always vulnerable. So
That's a really good
no,
point.
and
That's
it
a
is
very, very good point.
LGBT groups that are backing the trans. It is LGBT, and they're using the position that they have in society to force the trans. I've had, again, even before T became prominent, I had too many L's on my couch crying about the misogyny they were dealing with in the community. And I'm looking at, going to events and you've got all the gender critical L's there saying we are just being ostracized by our own community because we don't want these straight guys with a sexual fetish for looking like women because they're, exposed to too much porn to be able to invade our space. We don't want to date men, and they're being forced to. Most people with 2 brain cells, Roscoe, are against transing kids. I'm against transing anybody. I want to tell you something. I'm against transing anybody because it's not possible. You cannot change sex. And there have been too many studies, starting in Sweden, more being done now, showing that the dissatisfaction, the mental health issues, there's a temporary lift. It is mutilation. There's a temporary lift after getting the surgery, and then it's followed by plummeting because you cannot change sex. You're always going to be pretending to be something you're not. Now, everybody who's watching
Goodness. Oh.
This is something you absolutely got to pay attention to. Screenshot this, and please do yourself a favor. Go on X and follow this guy, JD Haldigan, okay? Because he talks about this a lot. He's absolutely right. He's a clinical psychologist, and he's bringing a lot of the woke psychological evil into the mainstream. And he talked about this, which is a theory by Andrei Lobachevsky. Okay, if I mispronounced it, please forgive me. Andrei Lobachevsky, whom I learned about in graduate school and afterwards, journal articles afterwards, something called pathocratic. Okay, so this is like pathological, which means a mental or physical illness that's serious, plus autocratic, which is domination, authoritarianism. So you put the two together, you get pathocratic, a system of government or society where a small pathological minority takes control, often characterized by the perversion of moral values and the use of coded language to manipulate and control the population. Now, we're going to really get into how the woke have twisted and distorted language to make themselves seem on the side of moral righteousness next week. But this is a term, we're going to put this in there. As I said, screenshot this and you'll thank me later, because you also, whomever you are, when you go up against the woke, you need tools. They get a whole set of scripted things to say and do when they come up against us. Source is one of them. What's your source? But they never look at the source. If you give it to them, they're not going to look at it. They're going to find a reason, an excuse not to look. But they have a whole set of scripted rejoinders against traditional people or people who are just not fully woke. We need the same. This is one of them. You tell someone what you're discussing is not good, it's not right. It is a pathocratic subversion of society. So perversion of moral values, remember, that's part of it. Now, with regard to the woke, there are 4 types of people. So Satori, you wanted to know about who the woke are, but obviously you missed last week. Go back, it'll inform you still. That's different information. First of all, there are people that believe the hype. I would say Jane and Joe average believe whatever they're told by people in authority. They are extremely trusting. I am related to people like that. If they see a celebrity say it, if they see it on TV, they think it's true. That's my relatives, okay? They're influenced and indoctrinated. We're going to talk about this week and next week, how that indoctrination happens. And that's the scary part, because we are all subject to indoctrination. I don't care how smart we are. Indoctrination effectiveness is primarily determined by saturation levels. So the more you're exposed to this information and the more context, the more likely you are to start getting convinced. Mental health issues, we're going to talk about that too, and also people being coerced. Now, a lot of those people with Trump and his team in power are going to start pulling back because a lot of the coercion came from the fact that everywhere you looked, the woke were dominating. They were in power. Wokeism also appeals to people who want to be liked and popular because, again, they have always made themselves look like they were the predominant thought of the culture. It has never been true. But for people who want to be liked and popular, when you have your administration celebrating somebody for being strange, new, weird, and different, you want to be liked and popular, you should act like you're celebrating too. Sometimes people believe that it's the only way to succeed. I want to tell you something. If I were woke, I wouldn't be here. I'd be running some major corporation right now. With my background, my knowledge base, my education level, my only thing holding me back was not my race. My race was an asset. I'm also tall. That also helps. Okay. I'm tall, black, Stanford PhD, but not woke. And that would just knock my feet out from under me. I'd get to that last stage and they'd be like, oh, Trump is an asshole. And I'd be like, oh, okay. And then I change the subject or whatever. And they're like, oh, she's not one of us. You feel responsible for disadvantaged people. Well, that nurturing instinct, they want to make it better. That's why so many women are woke. Trusting of authority. I don't trust anybody. Okay. The more I learn, the less trusting I became. Roscoe, you're going to have to come on the show. You know what? You have to come on. I like you. You're like one of my favorites. Okay. He says, thank you for not spouting the rhetoric. God sees all. Absolutely true. Oh, the Academy Awards. Don't get me started. So we have a wide range of people that watch the show. Different lifestyles and beliefs, but all of them have eyes that see and are not willing to lie to themselves. And we keep learning. We don't have to agree on every single little thing. And we can still advance. Woke also appeals to people who are envious. We talked about that last week. If you see somebody that has something you don't have and you want to knock them down, woke gives you permission to destroy them, especially if they belong to any of those groups, that list that I gave you, the Christians, traditional, whatever. It allows you, it welcomes negative emotion because it makes you more dependent on the woke, because I can tell you the non-woke, we don't advocate this stuff. You follow social trends. Well, until, please somebody, anybody know Elon? Anybody know somebody with a lot of money looking to change the culture? We need to get our own media, okay? I write scripts. I covered scripts when I was back in LA. I actually did the revisions because the characters weren't consistent. We need media. That is the best source of information to the public. It's storytelling in 3D. It's powerful. We have got to stop leaving it to the woke, because following social trends, they make it look like wokeism is way more popular than it is. And woke allows you to bully anybody who's not woke. So people who like picking on other people, they love wokeism. Now, who is more likely to be woke? Hi, Nikki. It's interesting to see how many of the guys answering here are also gay and anti-trans, because they see through it. It's like, what is this absolute bullocks that we got going on here? Absolutely. Woke persuasion methods are most effective with people who make their choices based on emotions or primal drives. The kind of people who get fired up and angry or who get afraid really easily, those woke persuasion methods are made for you. Sensitive to social punishment. Obviously, I'm not. I'm not going to tell you it doesn't hurt. It does hurt being rejected and being yelled at. I get yelled at, people. People find out I voted for Trump, they yell at me. And oh my God, if they're Black, they curse me out. That's painful. Nobody wants to be treated like that.
But they're so nice and tolerant. That's the thing. It's the I love the behaviors when they actually it would be really good if they actually walked their talk instead of just talking the talk, because if they walk the talk, they certainly wouldn't be behaving the way they're behaving. I mean, it's just the fact that you're being yelled at, and I mean the hate that's come towards so many of us who've tried to push back on this narrative in the last few years has been incredible. It's been incredible coming from people who go, well, I'm proudly woke. It's
well,
like you're proudly a horrible person.
You didn't even have to vote for Trump. Any of you who decided not to get vaccinated,
oh yes, oh God,
also know what it's like. We were told we were killing people, that we should die. I mean, just it brings out the ugliest side. And remember something, wokeism encourages that.
It does.
But also it goes for people who are easily made to feel guilty. If you're being told you're killing grandma, or you're taking your people back to slavery by voting for Trump, if I believed that bull malarkey, I might back down. Since I know better, people are like, oh, the research. Really? Do you know how to read the research? I spent 7 of my 9 years in college learning how to read and assess research methodology. How about you? What are you basing it on? The discussion on the end, where they actually say things that aren't even supported by the methodology? I've seen that a lot. That political narrative at the end of a journal article where they're keeping to the wokeism, even though their own research does not back it up. Because most people either don't know how to read it or don't bother. And Nikki's right. Nikki here says Dems say whatever is convenient. It's not just convenient. They have an agenda and it's working. And Nikki says, I noticed LGB was being hijacked by the QT in 2016.
Yeah.
You had to be an activist to be gay. So weird. Oh, you have to be an activist to be Black around the same time. Yeah, they're like, yeah, I am an activist. I want a fair society. I want the American dream. I want what Martin Luther King promised me. I don't want the life promised by Black Lives Matter. That kind of society is not going to thrive. It says here, many woke. Here's another term for you. Screenshot, persistent noncompliance. So a lot of woke people are only woke because they want to go against anything their parents believe. This has been encouraged by the left since the 60s. If you look at things made in the 50s, you don't see it encouraged for young people to just abandon all the values of their parents. By the 1960s, that became hip and cool. Anybody over 30 is just like, doesn't know what's going on, man. Peace, All of that started then, and it's been going on for a couple of generations now. Protracted adolescent rebellion. And people are profiting off of this. The whole trans thing is just, that's to make money. That's to eliminate women's rights, because they didn't really want women to get equality. They don't really want Blacks to be equal. Oh, by the way, for any of you who are still on the fence, if you think the woke are actually for Blacks or for women, look further, because nothing will bring us back or drop us down more than quotas. You want more Black kids to get into Harvard? Start education programs in the Black community. Have that media that I keep asking people to make me a part of as a social psychologist. Encourage Black kids to compete, because we are a very competitive race. You tell us we can't do something and see what happens. And we've always had something called the talented 10th. Even during slavery, there were a 10th of Black people who were professionals. My great grandfather was a professor at the University of Colorado. My uncles, all doctors and lawyers. One of my great uncles, a Tuskegee Airman, okay, the most successful fighter, pilot, bomber escorts during the Second World War. Put us somewhere and tell us we can't do it and watch us go. But we have to be encouraged to do it, and we can't keep having people tell us we can't. Critical race theory tells young people you'll never be accepted, you can never compete, nothing, never teaches them, okay, this is how the people who do well on standardized tests, this is how they study, this is the method they used. Hey, let's put that in the Black community and see what happens. Let's put that in American schools and see what happens. Let's compete against the Asians and show them what's what. Because nobody beats America. I know, I'm bad, but I'm a very proud American. What can I say? Show us how it's done. Make it rewarded, socially rewarded. Get some of those creative types to write films and songs saying, yeah, it's great. I'm smarter than everybody else. I mean, one of the things with Zuby, Zuby is in the UK. He lives in the UAE now, but he's an Oxford educated Black man. This is what we need to encourage. Now let's talk about the woke for all of you who want to know. It is not accidental. This is purposeful. This is why you need to watch this. I am showing you what's behind the curtain. Now, who's who in the zoo? Okay, because what do you call it, Melinda? Your totem pole?
Oh, the totem pole of victimhood.
Okay, here's the totem pole. And I love that.
You know, who's the most oppressed? Yeah, so the most apparently the biggest minority or the most oppressed person gets to go at the top, and then they're the ones that are put on pedestals and get away with doing or saying whatever they feel like it, because of course they're completely oppressed and they're a victim, and because of their sexuality, their gender, or their skin color, apparently, you know, because that's what the woke worship. They worship identity politics. So this is like the foundation of wokeism right here.
Well, you know, Nikki says, I had a public speaking professor just like that, always attacked her parents and family, saying, I'm so glad I'm not like those racist trumpets. And she hated her family. I knew she was an activist because of her background for her class on Canvas was Kamala Harris at the podium. Oh, you see this all the time. I have been an advocate of and interested in the Second World War since being a teenager, going to high school in Germany, military dad, and then getting transferred back to New York and living in a Jewish neighborhood. So I'm like, why do these people hate each other? So I've developed a lifelong fascination for the Second World War. I'm watching a really good series on Netflix, and you have one of the experts talking about that the Berghof, Hitler's sanctuary. Oh, it was like Mar-a-Lago. And then she kept talking, but this is the kind of link that people keep getting. They keep likening Trump to Hitler. Oh, you know, Hitler drank water. If Hitler drank Diet Cokes, it would be all over because they constantly saying that. And now I'm going to show you next week and this week, they keep calling Elon a fascist as well. So when their own groups clash, because you can't help but notice
how quickly they turn on their own as well. As soon as one of their own does something they don't quite like, it's just a full-on 180 degrees, and then they're attacking him like pit bulls right now. It's absolutely horrible to watch.
Well,
It's
but they also
horrible. I
know
mean,
they do
he
it to
was
each
their
other.
darling 5 years ago. He was their darling. He was on the pedestal, how quickly he fell off that pedestal.
But here's how it goes. T is over everybody else. B is, come on, Nikki, Roscoe, I worked in the community. Nobody pays attention to B. Really, seriously, never have. Okay, so T is over L and G. So if the L, G, and T are in a room, T gets the podium and everybody else is expected to clap. Again, too many L's on my couch crying. G gets priority over L's, feminists, and women's rights. Okay, liberal feminists prioritized and given accolades and attention over traditional feminists or conservatives. Black Lives Matter is preferred over Black attainment, which is why you haven't seen any of that Black Lives Matter money go to improve a single Black school, university, neighborhood. Okay, it's all about being showy. DEI, over improving genuine opportunities. Nobody gains if you give me a job just because of what I look like. If I need to have the job, then train me. Give me the education. Let me compete. Tell me I can do it. Get me a good coach, but do not change the standards. Islam, and here you guys go. This is fun. You not only are not prioritized over T, you're also not prioritized over Islam, which would throw you off a roof. Okay, so LGBT, no. If it's Islam comes along, then they get prioritized over that, and feminists, because the kind of feminists that the woke advocate are completely haram, are completely despised by Islam. There's nothing they believe in that Islam supports. And abortion rights and prostitution over the rights of women. So if you're an OnlyFans model, you get lots of accolades and attention. If you are a wife and mother who takes good care of her family, you're treated like you're an embarrassment. And here are the rewards. Now, I know you're going to come up with some too, Melinda and Nikki and Roscoe and whoever wants to join us. Come on, let's talk about the rewards of being woke. Bisexuals, Roscoe says bisexuals aren't liked because that's reinforcing there are two sexes. I want to tell you, I'm older than you, Roscoe. They were ignored even before the T came along and took precedence. Non-binary with the T too. Nikki's funny. The only non-binary I met was a rich Caucasian girl. Gagged me with a spoon. Of course, you got to be part of the group. So if you can't pretend you're attracted to the same sex, then you got to come up with some other way to be a victimized group and get attention. So let's talk about these woke and proud people. What are the rewards of being woke? This is something, Melinda, you take this first one. You're the one that brought this up.
Well, look, it's really easy to say to say big platitudes that are part of a globalist agenda. It's easy to say that. You can sit on your couch in your Jimmy Jams and start to talk about how we should save the planet, how Black Lives Matter, and how you're virtue signaling, and you're doing it in a way that allows you to be the hero and tell everyone how virtuous you are without actually having to lift a finger. So, there's a lot of encouragement for this sort of fake virtue and telling people how great you are. But it's a lot harder to go out there and be a productive member of society, to be held accountable, to be emotionally mature, to accept when you may be wrong at times, where it's a human experience. We're all right and wrong at times. And, to actually work hard at being a better person. It's much easier to sit down and be a keyboard warrior. And I feel that there is an underpinning laziness around that being woke in that type of format, because the globalist agendas throw a lot of meaty a lot of meaty, high level, let's save the planet from climate change. Oh, yes, look how great I am. Of course, that's a sham. And if they bothered to look a little bit beneath what's being spoken about and talking about. But what I say to those people is like, listen, how many trees have you planted lately? Go out and plant a tree. If you're going to talk about the environment and climate change, don't be lazy. Get out there and actually do something in society that makes the world a better place.
Well, also, I would also say one of the rewards is if you want to misbehave, that's rewarded by the woke.
Yes, that's
Here's
so
another
true.
thing too. Acceptance and promotion of flaws, fetishes, and mental health problems. So you're not just accepted, they put you on the podium. And everything they do, no matter how bad it is, so they encourage superficiality, because everything they encourage is only righteous if you don't look to see who's funding it, don't look at the methods they're using, don't ask yourself, well, wait a minute, didn't we object when the other side did that? You cannot, you have to stay superficial, and then you get to feel like you're morally righteous. Also, unity. Feeling like you're part of a group is extremely alluring. And the woke have done a very good job over the last 20 years pretending that they were majority. They just found out with the election in the United States that that wasn't true. They cheated in 2020 to pretend. Notice Biden got over 80 million votes. It's like, wait a minute, that's like 35 million more people than actually are on the voting registry. It's just that whole thing.
Yes, I mean, I think everyone's really accepted that now. But Dina, I have
But
to
also
say,
justified for bullying too.
yeah,
You're seen as a warrior, as an activist warrior, if you harass and bully somebody who doesn't share your views. So if you have a negative personality and like picking on people, this is for you. And look at this. This got a lot of play when it happened during the Black Lives Matter protests, calling this fiery but mostly peaceful when there were explosions going on off in the background. It also offers a diversion from your personal issues. If you're focused on climate change and gluing yourself to a road or attacking somebody's Tesla, then you don't have to think about all the personal issues that you've got. Nikki says Kamala had fake votes too. Yes, she did. We still won. Permission to misbehave. I keep emphasizing that. And what we're going to talk about, because we're running out of time, we're going to talk about next week is the mental health issues underlying who the woke seeks out and how they purposely trigger that to increase it and then use it against their opponents, use it against their enemies. Permission to misbehave. And the cruel punishment that they direct towards anybody that opposes them feeds those aggressive impulses so they get worse. And all your problems are blamed on your opponents. But Trump is going to go down. This should be a book called But Trump. Because anytime you talk to a woke person about the hypocrisy, the destruction, the lack of credibility in their ideology, they always counter with, but Trump, okay? They also talk that external locus of control. Here's another term for you to learn. Screenshot. An external locus of control is when you blame anything you do wrong on something outside of yourself. It was your upbringing. It was the other person. It was the weather. It was because I drank something. It was always something else, plus perennial victimhood. And I have to mention before we go, we only have a couple minutes left, Alayla Everett. Okay.
I was just about to say that she was the latest person to highlight the cancer of wokeism in society. It is absolutely toxic.
She's running and she's being overtaken by another girl. So she takes her baton and hits her in the head. And more than once, she's like doing it's on film. And
It's
she's there
awful.
with the crocodile tears and the whole thing.
Yeah.
Poor me. Why are you picking on me? I didn't really do this. It was an accident.
That is terrible.
And what we're going to talk about next time, because we are running out of time. This is so important, though. You have to know if you're going to fight against these people, you have to know what you're dealing with. They primarily cluster B personality disorders. Wokeism is extremely bipolar. Yes, there it goes. The fetishizing of talk therapy over achievement and physical exercise. Okay, Nikki or Roscoe, you're just like, you're not kidding today, you guys. Absolutely right. So we're going to be talking about that more because you have to know what to do against this. So we're going to have to go. None of this is wasted. We're going to talk about it next week. Because I think this is all so important. Part 3. In the meantime, contact me on X at Dr. Dina 1, or you can go on my website and get in contact. And you can also leave a message for Melinda if you want to. But Roscoe, by the way, the external locus of control, it's always everybody else's fault if something goes wrong, but I will take credit for everything that goes right, even if I had nothing to do with it or very little to do with it. That's how it works. So thank you for joining me. Let's fight back against the woke. A lot of these people are cray, and we need to know what to do. So I will see you all next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.